All right, screw it. I was gonna try doing this as a live stream, but I don't know if Mixer's having issues or if I'm just having technical issues. I didn't get a chance to square it away, but anyway, I did want to kind of go through some of the Destiny updates coming. They kind of posted two things this week. One, an updated roadmap, and then two, they had this week at Bungie that was pretty informative about some of the stuff that's coming up. Um, so I definitely like that they're being proactive, getting ahead of some of the questions and kind of announcing the high level plan of when they're going to be releasing things and being their communication's been great lately, been pretty spot on, um, as far as transparency goes. That coupled with the fact that they're doing this like community summit, which I think is next week, with a bunch of content creators and community members to kind of bounce some of their ideas off of them, which I think is fantastic. So this first one that I have up here is the roadmap. Um, so Christopher Barrett's here, just kind of giving some comments on the overall adjustments to the roadmap. So thus far, they've come out of the I think 1.2.0. I don't think they've even shown this panel before, but they definitely haven't shown this panel before. Um, so we just had the Go Fast update, um, which had a lot of sandbox updates and stuff like that, which has been fantastic so far. At least steps in the right direction. Not full solutions for everything, but definitely getting in the right direction as far as livening things up a bit. So the next one that everybody has their eyes set on is 1.2.0, which is coming up May 8th. So, 3-4 weeks from now, a little less than a month. It's awesome, creeping up on me, to be honest. So the big things with this are they're dropping another DLC called the Warmind, which I'll talk about in a little bit. They talk about it in this and in the weekly update. Um, Private matches for anybody wanting to run tournaments or just do scrimmages with their buddies, stuff like that. Vault space increase, something that everybody's always asking for. Hey, if I remember correctly, they're only adding like 50 though. I'm hoping in the future they add in some kiosks and stuff like that, but we'll see what it turns out to be. Multi emote. So a lot of people have been calling this the emote wheel. Similar to a bunch of other games that have done that. I think Overwatch does it. A couple others. So that'll be great for people that want to mix up their emotes and have multiples equipped beyond just like one fancy emote, a dance that's default and hello, wave, and then sit down, which are the defaults today. So that'll be good to have. I'm interested to see if they go with a traditional wheel with that, if they keep that on the D-pad, or how they incorporate that. Exotic weapon masterworks, which is great because if you're doing a lot of particularly PvE content, a lot of times people are favoring masterworked legendaries because you get more orb generation. Plus, the state of a lot of exotics right now don't really give you too much of a leg up. So a lot of people are just going with masterworks because masterwork legendary. So I'm interested to see if they stick with the same concept of just double kills give you um, orbs, or if they kind of do something special for exotics. Seasonal vendor progression, so that's the normal refresh. Exotic weapon sandbox changes. So they are doing a tuning pass on the exotic weapons themselves, which will be great. Um, because a lot of them need a little love, like I said, to kind of give you a leg up in situations. Um, Heroic strike modifiers. I don't know why that wasn't there from day one, but great, fantastic. That'll liven those up and give people more motivation on top of the milestone to run heroics and Nightfall challenge cards. So I do like the fact that they're iterating on the Nightfall challenges and doing the scoring and everything. That's been a big hit, and honestly, it has been an evolution from what they had in D1 and is more rewarding, honestly. So it's and I think it's overall better. The scoring system has been better for everyone since they didn't force you to go fast. You're still rewarded if you get it done real fast, but there's other ways to play through it and still get high scores. And it allows people, like I play with a couple of my buddies, and we're not all like max level, so sometimes we struggle to get it done in the allotted time. So it's been great because we can actually get through it and not get the boss down to like, a quarter health and then run out of time and then have to do it all over again. So um, that's been an improvement, and I look forward to seeing what they do to iterate on that in the future. The summer, so they haven't put a date to this, but sometime between September and May, there's going to be a new seasonal event, which is interesting because as far as I remember, I don't think they've ever done um, a seasonal event in the summer before. They've done Crimson Days a few times. They've done the Dawning. They've done Sparrow Racing. They've done blanking on the one that's around Halloween, but like they've done a few of them, but I don't think they've ever done one in the summer before, which is pretty cool. So I'm interested to see what that is. Faction rallies improvements. That'll be great to see more meaning come to, choosing one faction or the other. A lot of people who play the game hardcore say, well, I'm just gonna do one character on each faction, and then I get the cheap weapon anyway. The other argument is those weapons aren't really that much to and do the same content. It's just kind of an arbitrary. I'm gonna select this because I like their shaders. That's really the only reason to choose a faction right now because the weapons aren't overpoweringly fantastic. No lore to them. They're not unique models. They are reskins, but um, so that'll be good to see some improvements and hopefully give you more motivation to go after those um, bounties. So I'm interested to see how they iterate that. If that's going to be similar to D1, or if they're going to come out with a new system like bounties on specific um, named enemies, that'd be interesting. But they haven't really detailed that too much. PC clan chat, so that's good. I don't know why that wasn't there before, but fantastic. Exotic armor sandbox changes. So they haven't done a pass yet on the. They're coming up with a pass on the weapons. Now it's good to hear them talking about the armor ones. I think that one actually might have been slated for May, and they bumped it out probably to give them a little more time to really get it right and get those gear pieces feeling good. Because that's another piece that a lot of the exotics overall in the game just feel a little bit bland right now. And they finally put season 4 coming up in September on the map. Gear collections, records, weapon slot changes, weapon randomization, and more. The gear collections and records, I'm interested to see how they do that. Gear collections, I don't know if that's going to be like a kiosk type of thing or if they're going to flesh out the loot system to be basically have like right now they just introduced new drops for specific strikes for the Nightfall. So I'm interested to see if they just expand upon that and break that out into having a full gear set. But we'll see. We'll see what that comes out to be. Records, I'm interested to see if they do that like record books from D1. I enjoyed that system. Gave you something to work towards and unlock gear and just the achievements, weapon slot changes, and weapon randomization. These are probably the two biggest topics that have been talked about in the community lately. Weapon slot changes. A lot of people don't like having basically two primaries and then having your rockets and grenades thrown in, or let's be honest, just rockets thrown in with sniper shotguns and fusions. They want that broken out and don't really see the value in primary. The elemental and the kinetic weapon slots of both being primaries. So I'm interested to see how they handle that. If they keep it with 3 slots, but just rearrange things so we go back to like a D1 system, or if they iterate on that and make it more like I do like the idea that's been bouncing around where we have 4 weapon slots where they basically take the explosive weapons and push those down into the 4th slot so you can have like a sniper and a rocket as well as your 2 primaries. So you have more flexibility in player engagements and stuff like that. Weapon randomization, another one that I'm interested to see how they do. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means literally a reroll or I'm sorry, a random roll type of thing across the board, or if it's going to be, like there's a core set that's unlocked on the weapon, and maybe they go towards a socket type of thing, like Diablo, or maybe there's just a certain set of perks or abilities on a weapon that can be randomized. Um, I'm interested to see what they do with that because that they've also kind of rolled. I think they talk about it in this or the TWAB where they rolled mods 2.0, which they've been talking about and pushed out till September. They rolled that into this category of weapon randomization. So I'm interested to see if they're like totally getting rid of mods altogether and just going back to random rolls, or if they're tweaking that mod system to be more of a, you can pick up a barrel, you can pick up a grip, you can pick up a magazine or a sight and use that to modify a base weapon. We'll see what that turns out to be, and then obviously we have no idea on more yet to be revealed. So that's the main thing with that. They are also um, bringing some changes up with the raid prestige mode. Um, it will update where it will land in the next development. So they haven't quite mentioned where that's going to land yet. Mod changes, like I said, are being rolled into the weapon randomization. So we'll see what that means as they talk about it a little bit more in the future. Season 3, who's May, they go into this a little bit more later on in the TWAB, but basically it's called Warmind. I don't think too many people are super surprised by this based on the screenshots we've seen of the cover art. A lot of people theorize that it's going to be Rasputin based and it's going to involve Clovis Bray and SIVA. Clovis Bray is the corporation that created the SIVA way back in the day. And we know that there's been one of the Exodus Down used to have a variant of it in the development of D2, never launched, but there was a variant that was SIVA Fallen in it instead of regular Fallen. So we know the SIVA is still out there. We know that it's coming at some point. So it seems pretty clear at this point that it's coming here, which has been theorized for a little bit. I'm curious to see if we're also going to see the Awoken come into play again. I know the Queen's brother from D1, the Awoken Queen's brother, did crash land. If you read the grimoire behind it, he crash landed on Mars, which is also where Charlemagne, another Warmind, was. So I'm interested to see if they tie all that together, or if that piece of the storyline is not going to come in until September or whatever. With the whatever the Taken Queen expansion that everybody's been calling it, coming in September. So we'll see. I think it's pretty clear we're going to see a return of Rasputin, or potentially Charlemagne, I suppose. But hopefully we see that, and then it seems like the Brays are going to have an impact on here too, which is cool to see more characters from the lore be brought forward. The other quick thing that they mentioned here is they're kind of changing their theory on Crucible maps to the point where they're essentially they're basically whoops. Oh, yeah, that's fine though. Basically, all they're saying is for general matchmaking, they're doing away with this idea that you have to have the DLC to play on those maps. In regular Crucible, they are keeping it so you have to own them to play in private matches on those maps, but not for general Crucible play, which is great. So like even if you don't buy any of the DLCs going forward and you just want to play Crucible, you'll be able to dive in and play all the maps pretty much. And of course, is not refreshing now. But I do want to talk about the weekly update a little bit. They go a little bit more into note to self: next time you do a recording, have both pages brought up when you want to talk about two different ones. So basically the gist of it, one of the main points that they brought out is I think April 24th they're going to be doing a live stream to kind of talk a little bit about and introduce the Warmind DLC, talk a little bit about the story and all that good stuff. And there will be some good people on that stream. So if you do get a chance on April 24th, check that out. They had a combatant designer on the weekly update as well. It kind of talked about how they're kind of going back to a D1 perspective as far as enemy scaling for combatants. So I remember in D1 when you're underleveled, you run across there was a few enemies in the Cosmodrome that were like way above your level. If you were doing the main storyline, and they used to have question marks over your head, over their head, saying basically, yeah, you're not at all powerful enough to fight this thing. So they are kind of going back to that idea, so that like enemies you come across in the real world, in just patrolling and stuff like that, will potentially put up more of a fight if they are higher level or tougher enemies. Um, wow, interesting. Um, but anyway, that's clearly not going to work. So, real quick. So anyway, I can kind of talk through the other main points. So we're basically going back to that idea of having something that is, enemies are going to be harder to kill, and all that. So it'll be, more of a challenge in PvE in general. And again, this just affects PvE, not PvP, um, which I think will be good. I think if you're still over leveled, you're still going to poop on enemies all day long. But if you are in areas that are a little tougher, that they're gonna put up more of a fight. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that they roll into general patrol versus just having higher level strikes. I think it would be nice if there were areas that you went into in patrol that were, really difficult areas if you're under leveled, and it will be punishing rather than just blocking a lot of that stuff behind particular stories, or strikes, or raid content. So be interested to see how that gets rolled out. But it sounds like they're going back to more of a open world difficulty level of combatants being closer to the D1 perspective. So they mostly talked about that, as well as um, the, like I said, the live stream on the 24th, and then Iron Banner is also returning. Oh, and now it's working again. Bring this back up. Okay. So, like I mentioned, they kind of reiterate the roadmap again in the TWAB, Ultimate Power. So this is where they're talking about the PvE difficulty. They're also adjusting in the Nightfall, when you can change how much your handicap is. They're upping that to 50, so you can, for a more challenging and higher score experience, you can basically dial up the difficulty level of the enemies, or more so, I guess, just penalizing your own light. So you can basically play it like you were 50 levels below the enemies, for an extra challenge. So that'll be super punishing. So for those people chasing those high scores, I think it'll be interesting to see. Probably not for me, but um, this was another interesting point. So what they are doing too to energy shields right now, if you use an elemental on any sort of energy shield, it'll melt it with the same amount of bonus damage. The only difference is if you match the shield type with your element type, it'll cause like kind of a firefly effect around it. So they're kind of going back towards the D1 methodology, where you still, if you're using an elemental, you'll still get double damage versus a kinetic. But if you're actually matching the element, you'll get triple damage, which is great. So I think a lot of this is, going to make that, coupled with the fact that allows them to bring back match game into the modifier rotations. So for people who didn't play D1, match game basically meant you did very little damage if you weren't matching the element. But if you do, you do crazy amounts of damage. So it'll be interesting to see people actually give a shit about what element they're using, more and more. They also did add in burn modifiers, and stuff like that into the challenge cards for Nightfall already. So it'll be good to see them. Good to see people care about what element is on your gun again. So that'll be great. They did talk about a couple charity events that they have coming in. So every year they do this Ronald McDonald fundraiser called Men in Kilts. So if you are interested, this is something that Bungie cares about a lot. They've done this for, I think, 7 years or something like that. So if it's of interest to you, they do have some cool prizes, and perks for donators if you're interested in donating, as well as they have a tabletop game kind of charity event that they take part in. So they basically send some Bungie employees go and participate in this tabletop tournament, and they also accept donations for it. So same kind of thing. It's actually a different set of prizes that you can get by donating to that. So Bungie is pretty good about making sure that they do a lot of community and kind of charity outreach type events. So if you are interested in checking those out, I definitely encourage you to do so. Um, the last main piece that I wanted to highlight, Iron Banner. So this was delayed. It was supposed to be this week, got postponed because there was a bug that they found with adjusting it to 6v6 rather than 4v4. So they did patch that up, apparently, and they're bringing it back out next week. This week, right now, if you're watching this before Friday the 13th, right now, if you watch this before next Tuesday, they have Rumble out. They brought that back as 6-player. There's still some spawn issues and a lot of stuff going on with that, but they've been playing around with that, and it's good to see them be able to adjust that. That it was 8-player Rumble, now they dipped it down to 6. Good to see a quick turnaround on them being able to change that. It's encouraging that they can tweak things a little faster going in the future. But in any case, they do have Iron Banner coming out next week. I believe this will be the last Iron Banner before Season 3. So if there's any gear or ornaments that you're still looking for, get out there and do that. I'm going to dive in for sure because I think I still need the melee and grenade kill ornament, and I need the wins ornament. So definitely looking forward to that. It's also going to be 6v6 and kind of D1 rules for control. So cap points won't be captured right off the bat, and capture points will capture faster again with more guardians, up to I think 3 or 4. And you get super energy by capturing a point. So not a full super, but you get some energy towards your super. So it's much more back towards it. If you played Control in Destiny 1, and we're a fan of Iron Banner in Destiny 1, then I think this event will be good. We'll see how it feels with 6v6 on the map sizes that they have in D2, but we'll see. I'm definitely gonna check that one. I was actually really excited for it to come back this week. It was disappointed that it got delayed, but hey, bugs happen and they gotta fix them. So glad they're bringing that back out next week. And I think it's pretty much just some patch note type of thing if there's troubleshooting issues, as well as movie of the week type stuff in here in Nightfall scores. So that's about it for for the Bungie news and Destiny 2 news. So keep an eye out for that live stream on the 24th. I think that'll be an interesting one. They'll be talking about the next DLC. It's encouraging to see some of that stuff up on the roadmap and them talking about it. I think the fall is really when people who have left the game already are gonna, from what I've been hearing from some of the, top players and stuff like that, a lot of them probably aren't interested in really coming back until you see some of those truly impactful changes that are coming in the fall with weapon slots, weapon randomization, and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people have their ear to the ground on seeing more and more about that conversation, but probably aren't coming back with May or the summer, frankly. But the changes that they're making are very encouraging to the people that are already in Destiny 2 and have been kind of keeping up with it and playing it at least every once in a while. If not, some people play it every day. So definitely quality of life improvements. New content's always good. So keep an eye out for the live stream. Check out Iron Banner next week. I know they're having that community summit next week too, so it'll be keep an eye out for some of the content creators that are going to that event, because I think they'll be able to talk about some of it, but not all of it, but they'll at least be able to talk about general vibes, I'm sure, of the discussions that they had at Bungie, stuff like that. So yeah, that about covers it. So any questions or any feedback or anything like that, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, MangryGamer over there. Probably gonna post this up on YouTube, so comments down below. I'll read them. Go for it. Hit me up there. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on my live broadcasts on Mixer at mixer.com/MangryGamer broadcast. 2 nights a week around 9:30 Eastern time, usually around like Tuesday, Thursday, and then I throw in either a Friday or Saturday, or maybe a bonus stream here or there. So, in fact, this was going to be a bonus stream, but my connection to Mixer didn't want to cooperate, so YouTube video instead. So, um, but like I said, until next time, guys, have a good one, and hit me up if you ever have any feedback or want to play together sometime. So, peace.